Welcome to Chapters, everyone. Thank you all for discussing picking up the pieces to 100 Broken Promises with me today. I am Yushima Cherry Burks, your host and the author of Picking Up the Pieces to 100 Broken Promises. Every Sunday for 9 weeks, we will be discussing one chapter of my book. Okay, panel, introduce yourselves and tell us what you do. Let's start with Lindsey.
So I am Lindsey Odinma. I am a therapist and I'm also an event planner. The name of my event planning business is called Sincerely L Designs, and it basically focuses on upscale events such as baby showers, weddings. It's something that I really enjoy outside of therapy because it's almost like a self-care job. So I really, really love it.
Awesome. And you look familiar, like I've seen you on a television show before a couple of times. What's the name of that show that you were on?
I was on Love and Marriage Huntsville.
Oh, okay. That's where I've seen you. Great. Awesome. So you're a celebrity stylist and event planner, it seems. For
event planner, yes.
Absolutely. Awesome. Well, welcome. I'm glad you can take time out your busy schedule to be here with me today. I appreciate you. Thank you. And Chanelle, introduce yourself for us.
Sure. My name is Chanelle Wesley. I'm a writer. My work is done in CC's Inc. And what CC's Inc. is all about is about my journey through just being a survivor of abuse, of sexual abuse. And to cope, I just started to write. And so I've written plays, books, things I'm getting ready to publish this year that I'm so excited about. Just recently started a blog called Unmute. So I definitely want you guys to check that out. I was just talking about giving voice to people who've had their voices silenced. So I'm so excited to be on this panel with this great people of guests. Now I'm just excited and I love the book. I'm just healing just reading it.
Oh, well, thank you so much. And thank you for your support, Chanelle. And ladies, make sure you provide me with your links and I will put them down below so that our viewers will have an opportunity to patronize you and support you, okay? So welcome, both of you. I'm glad to have you here. Without further ado, let's get started. Oh yeah, merch alert.
Yay.
Check it out, right? Check it out. All right.
I love it.
You love it? I love it too. And we'll talk more about it later. So shameless plug, my huge black.
Yeah, no, it's not even shameless. The bag is everything. I was waiting for my bag to get here today.
I love that.
Yes. I had planned on putting mine out.
Yeah, it'll be there today. It's coming today. I'm excited. So you're Yushima.net, but we will talk about that later. Today we are discussing Chapter 8. The title to Chapter 8 is No Might in Thine Hand. The titles in Chapter 8 include My Arrest, Being There for Quan, and Being Strong for Them. Chapter 8 opens with my experience seeking help from systems on a micro, mezzo, and macro level, and the struggle that I faced trying to get services from Mikey and to keep us all safe. Although I work closely with the system and I work for the mental health department as a therapist and social worker, I still face several challenges, and I can't imagine the hardships that families face who may not speak the language or understand how the system works. So that's why I'm very empathetic with anyone who is seeking support for their families, because I know that it's rough. Ladies, I want to ask you, have you ever tried to get help only to be faced with more challenges?
You know what? I'm going to say in my last place of employment. And it was more so seeking help from a mental health and self-care standpoint, because I feel like a lot of times as Black women, we are portrayed as just strong women. When we get sick, we're still expected to come to work. We don't have to practice self-care. And so I think I naturally adapted that mindset, right? And so as I went through my career and as I went through jobs, I had the mindset that I'm this strong, invincible female. Like, I don't need to manage my mental health or my self-care, or really even when I get sick. And so when I realized at my last place of employment, I was there for 2 years, and I'm gonna say about a year and a half in, I started to realize, like, I can't function like this. This is not realistic for me to be the go-to person. This is not real for everything. It's not realistic for me to not take time off when I get sick, to show up to work when like, this is so unrealistic.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And so I instantly started to seek out help from my supervisor, from people over me, as far as, I want to modify this culture that I created for myself in this work environment. Let me modify this, because this isn't healthy, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I found myself in more trouble because it became an issue for them. So people were having staff meetings about me. I was asking questions that I'm pretty sure they never even thought of. Like, one of the questions I think I asked was, can sick leave be used for a mental health day? That caused a whole conference
thing
to be held against me. I mean, it was a big thing. And I found myself almost being put on some type of probation, all because I wanted to. In my last job, I was a therapist. How do you expect me to be effective and efficient with these children if I'm not taking care of myself? I'm telling you, look, what I was asking for was simple. For me to maintain my health and my strength to be able to take care and do my job, and it was a bigger issue. It caused more problems. So, let's just say, my last place of employment. So
absolutely. And I remember you going through that struggle, and we discussed the myth of the strong Black woman, right? Our expectations to always be on, no matter what we're really feeling, to mask it, hide it, push it down, right? And I love how you said and took responsibility for the culture that you created yourself in your workplace, for showing up when you shouldn't have been showing up, for showing up when you should have been holding back and taking care of yourself. So I am so glad that you decided to advocate for yourself. And if nothing else, it caused them to hold up a mirror to how they are treating their helpers. It's interesting how they put pressure on us as therapists to do our very best without factoring in the fact that we need to take care of ourselves as well. So thank you for that perspective, Lindsey. That was awesome. Chanelle.
I just want to say thank you for sharing, Lindsey, and just being so transparent. And I appreciate your comments as well, Yushima. I just have to say I have nothing but piggyback off of that, because as a Black woman, I just delved into that whole strong Black woman persona. And I can advocate on behalf of others, but it's hard for me to advocate for myself. And a lot of times I may need help, but I won't seek it out, because I'll just I need to figure it out. I need to make my way through it. I need to push through it. I got to find some place I'm not digging deep enough. And so people who take care of others and who provide care for others, you need the most care of yourself, because you're constantly emptying and giving of yourself, and then you're not getting anything to put back inside of yourself. So it makes it really difficult for you to be effective and efficient in what you do. And so I just applaud you both in the field that you're in, that you're taking care of others, but self-care is just so necessary. If you don't do it, you're going to eventually going to burn out. And I've experienced that on a number of occasions, just because of my feeling of being incapable of seeking out help when it's necessary. So I'm actually in the process of, and I keep saying I'm going to find a therapist just so I can have some moments to kind of de-stress and get some help, because I'm just dealing with so much trauma. And it's on my to-do list, but I'm actually need to check that thing off just so I can get a moment to relate and to release and to have that moment to be able to be vulnerable and be okay in my vulnerability.
Absolutely. Thank you for sharing that. Did you have something to add?
Yeah, I was going to say too, and I think that concept as well applies across the board in other domains of your life. So that's even with friendships, because sometimes we believe with each other that we're strong Black women. Like I know with my friend Tiffany, and sometimes Yushima, y'all are invincible. Like I can come to you at the drop of a dime and you guys are going to be available. And it's like, you need to also take care of your mental health. You also need to, this might not be the time for me to come and drop all my burdens on you. So I apply this concept now. It's a life changer. So now you don't have this expectation of me. I'm telling you right now, my job, I could be coughing because I accidentally swallowed something wrong. I think I need to go home. Like at this point, like, at this point, I don't even have that. Don't even have the expectation of me. It's not fair. No, I'm sick. I wake up with a tummy ache. I ain't gonna be able to come in today. I'm sorry. I created a whole new culture, and I want us all to create that new culture. I want us all to kind of modify that theory or that mindset that's who we are.
That's right. I have witnessed this, so I know firsthand that Lindsey Odinma is absolutely telling the truth, because she will be out 10 o'clock. Lindsey go. Where Lindsey at? Lindsey is go. You hear me? She was not playing. So when we work together, I absolutely say absolutely. And you teach people how to treat you. Yeah. And I think that's in every aspect of our life. That's in our personal lives. That's in our career lives. That's just in general. And we can choose to accept it or reject how they treat us, just like they can choose to accept or reject our boundaries, right? But anyway, at the end of the day, it's up to us. So I do appreciate that. I'm a big advocate now for taking care of yourself and helping the helper, because I can't do anything for you if I'm drowning myself. It's nothing I can do for you. So I encourage us all to take that same initiative with our mental and our physical health as well. Not just our mental health, but our physical health as well. Going to the doctor when we need to, seeking medical treatment when we need to as well. And I commend you for seeking therapeutic help too, Chanelle. I know that's something that we've discussed, and it's absolutely, it's a life changer. Even as a therapist, we still have to seek our own professional mental health care. It's a little bit more difficult because we're familiar with a lot of the people, our providers, right? So we have to find somebody outside of our little pool that we interact with, right? That can handle our issues from a clinical standpoint. But I commend anybody for seeking mental health treatment, and I recommend it to everybody because it is a game changer. Thank you for sharing, ladies. Moving on. This chapter was fun because it also discusses my arrest, right? So remember in chapter 7, when I discussed the breakdown of our blended family. Yeah, well, my arrest was a direct result of the stress that comes from having a child that's trying to harm us all. And my duty as a parent was to support him and protect us simultaneously, while my husband Quan was distancing himself and being the protector that he should be as a husband and a father. He too was overwhelmed, which resulted in a physical confrontation from my desire to protect my child, and I ended up taking that L and going to jail. That's all I'm gonna say about that. For the details, you're gonna have to just read the book. Moving on, have either of you been arrested? And if not, have you had to call the police on someone due to a physical altercation? Am I the only one that they got a mugshot?
We sharing today. Okay. Oh, girl, yeah. So when I was 19, I was living in Huntsville, Alabama at the time. We were in a whole heated, thing with this young lady. I can't even remember what it was, but whatever it was very minute. But at that point, it had really irritated my whole spirit. And so, as upset as I was, we went over to her house with me and a best friend of mine at the time. We drove over there because I wanted to confront her. I wanted to say it was about her kid. We was watching her child, and she had some comments. I'm like, well, come on, start comments to me in my face type thing. It was just extra. We rode over there, banging on the door, ready to get stuff going, and she didn't come out. And then my cousin, Belinda, she was like, I prayed that Jesus wouldn't allow her to be there. I was so mad at her. Like, why you pray that, Belinda? I did. So we picked her up from Huntsville Mall. driving around there. So we all heated. I'm talking. I'm upset. My best friend, everybody just yapping. My cousin in the back, she just praying like, Lord, please stop this confusion. So this lady is tailgating us from behind, and she's just up on a bumper, like way too close. And I'm like, we out the windows yelling, it's just getting confrontational. And clear as day, a stupid voice say to me, get out the car. I'm like, okay. I get out the car. I come around, just tell you how ignorant I was, come around, walk in front of the car, so she moves up some in her vehicle as I'm walking past. And I'm like, did this chick try to hit me with her car? Mm-hmm. And so when I get around to her window, I'm talking to her. I'm like, roll your window down now. You know what I'm saying? So I just started checking her real hard. And then I thought about it. I was like, oh, and then you try to hit me. So dummy was like, just snatched her up real quick. And I just yanked her a couple of times. It sounded worse than what it was. Mm-hmm. But I did it a couple of times. And so then she turned around in the car. I'm standing in the middle of the road, like, hit me, dumb, hit me. My friend gets out the car. She's standing in between the door and the car. She comes past, like flying past me, clips the door. My friend, like I said, was in between the door and the car. Mm-hmm. So she went back and forth. Stupidly, I'm like, get her, like drive. I'm finna hurt her type thing. We trace after her. Girl, she ends up hitting somebody else, running from us, and then we get off the car. I'm like, we think that's the girl right there. I get out the car. So it's about to be a confrontation. It's about to get further. At this point, the people who were in the car, they're excited, trying to calm everything down. They call the police. Nothing happens that day. I think it takes like 2 weeks. Mm-hmm. And then I'm sitting in my apartment and I get that knock. And that knock is very distinct.
I know the knock.
Nothing else. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. And I'm like, I knew what it was because the Lord had already told me, like, yeah, you're going to have to sit down for this one. I was like, yeah. What it did was it helped me to calm down. Yes. I never get so amped and so volatile. I try to process things, and that's just you when you're dumb and you're young. You just do stupid things. And as I've grown and matured, I process things a lot easier now. I talk things out, or I walk away.
That's it. I'm with you now, because jail is not fun. Not fun. Thanks for sharing. It's not fun. Thank you. Yes. No. Okay. Lindsey, I'm nervous.
No, so I've never been arrested and I've never called the cops on someone, but I have been in a situation in a sense to where I was trying to protect someone, and probably I should have called the cops, but I didn't. But there was a situation, I was in Maryland at the time, and I had a best friend. She was my A1, and we had fallen off for like a year and some change. And then one day we just got back and I was at her house all the time. Mm-hmm. Mind you, it had been a while, so, kind of got to relearn each other kind of thing. So I was there, been there a couple of times. So this probably made me like my fourth or fifth time, like chilling over at her house. And her boyfriend was there. They were in a 1 studio apartment. And he was actually the part of the reason why we had fell off in the first place. Mm-hmm. There's in a studio apartment. So there was no bedroom, no nothing. So that's all they had. And it was me and one of his friends there. And so I saw my friend get into an argument with her boyfriend. So they arguing back and forth. I really wasn't thinking nothing about it because it hadn't really gotten that heated. Then all of a sudden, I hear him smack her. So I look and she's just dazed off as if this was not new. Like, I'm assuming this must have been already going on. So I'm actually in shock because at that time I was very naive. Like the whole females getting hit thing, I thought that was just in the movies. Like I had never really had a friend or someone close to me that was in a domestic violence relationship at the time. I was in my early 20s. Mm-hmm. So I'm sitting there dazed too, like kind of like, wait a minute, what just happened? And then he hauls off and hits her again. So instantly I get up okay, she not gonna do nothing, all bets is off the table. And I get physical. Mm-hmm. So I'm swinging and hitting and like, cause you're not gonna hit my friend, and I'm just all riled up. And then his friend came and, like pulled us apart. He was like, you can't hit a female. You can't hit a female. And he goes in the closet and gets his gun. Yes. He ends up packing up his gun. I think he had like 2 of them. He ends up packing. So when I seen the gun, I'm like, wait, what? Like this is another level now. So he ends up packing up the gun and everything. His friend was rational. He got him just to go ahead and leave. So the next day, I called my friend. And so in my mind, I'm like, very solution focused. How I'm going to get my friend out of this situation? Like, we need to figure this out. So I'm like, he has a gun. Like, the next thing, can happen is he could shoot you. And I was like, at that point, it was life-changing for me because here I was trying to defend her, and I could have got harmed or killed or hurt. And so I had no clue he had that. I had no clue that was in the house. Mm-hmm. And so when I was trying to rationalize with her and talk to her about it, she said that if she would ever leave him, he claimed that he would kill himself and things like that. She was really rationalizing it. She was saying, see, I wish that you wasn't there because I knew you were going to be judgmental. And I told her, I said, look, that's not what this is. I just want to make sure that my friend is going to be safe. Right. Like, this seems like a very unsafe situation. And unfortunately, I want to say, and maybe probably about 3 or 4 years later, she committed suicide. So it was a very, very, And so I know for me, for a minute, there was a little bit of guilt because I remember in that moment, I said, well, I can't allow myself to be placed in situations like that. I told her that, like, that can harm me. Like, I can't go through that again. Like, that was dangerous. And so then a part of me was like, well, maybe if I, and then she had kind of got standoffish because at that point she felt judged. And I was like, well, maybe if I had, looked at it differently, like I was doing all this rationalized, but it was just a crazy situation.
Wow. I'm sorry to hear that. Have you processed that with somebody yet? Because you told me never knew the ending to that story.
No, I think it was always hard for me to process. Okay, well, first of all, I said she committed suicide, but that never really was confirmed because I'm assuming she was, but in the Adventist community, that's frowned upon, and no one really wanted to release the car. I'm thinking because y'all don't want to release it. That's what I'm believing it to be. And then I think I never really got closed. Like, I processed it the best way I knew how. But for me, I know sometimes I feel like I need to know the whys. And that's what gives me the closure. And I had to realize that I wasn't going to have any whys. I remember even asking her mom, well, how did she pass away? Or what happened? Or why? And her mom just said, it doesn't matter at this point, So I never really, so I had to figure out how to process it in a different way than what I'm used to.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
It was a learning experience. It was a huge learning experience.
That is huge.
For your loss, but thanks for sharing.
Yeah. I'm very sorry to hear that. But I do commend you for setting that healthy boundary to keep yourself safe, because I found myself in physical altercations defending a friend only to have them turn on me in the process to defend their significant other who was abusing them. So I do understand being on both sides of that coin, being abused and also being a friend that wants to stop the abuse from happening. But I never stopped my brother from doing what he needed to do to my abuser. So I can't speak on that without implicating him. Allegedly, he did some stuff, but we ain't gonna talk about it. But I am sorry to hear about your friend, and I'm glad that you're still here to tell the story today. And I'm sure some people can learn from that, absolutely. And since we don't know what happened, it just leaves all these different questions, but you know what I'm saying? But the thing about closure is that you can create whatever scenario you need to in order for you to heal and move forward. Thank you for sharing. Yeah, and I had that piece. During this period of my life, in chapter 8, I knew that I had to make some tough decisions, and I needed to get my life together quickly before I ended up losing everything. I knew our family was broken, and when we were together, it was us against them. We could conquer the world, but when a cog within our family system is broken, it destroys the entire infrastructure. And at the time, I could not expect support from my very supportive husband because he was in broken, and we were both just trying to survive at this point. I was clinically depressed, and my environment was making everything worse. Quan didn't know the person I had become, and he straight out told me, I don't know what to do with this person, right? He was used to me laughing and masking, but I was in so much pain that I could no longer grin and bear it. When I tried to discuss my feelings with him, he became defensive and he internalized my pain with his failings, but that wasn't the case at all. During this time, I had forgotten how to be authentic in my own space. I felt like I always had to keep it together all of the time. And I never taught anyone how to care for me because I was the caretaker and I never expected anyone to be there for me. I felt like I needed to earn love, but I never reached the expectation that I set for myself. So I didn't feel worthy of that love that I craved so much. So what I did is I kept treating other people how I hoped they would treat me without asking them for what I needed, which I later found out was unfair to everyone around me, and it was unfair to me as well. Eventually, Quan and I found a way to navigate this terrain, but it took a while, and it took a lot of tenacity and a lot of prayer. So I thank God for prayer. We just had a brief conversation about the myth of the strong back woman, always needing to be on top of things, ignoring our pain, never seeking help. Have either of you ever hidden a part of yourself for so long that you become unrecognizable even to yourself?
Yes. I want to say like 6 years ago, my daughter had two noxic brain injuries on the day that I gave birth to my youngest child. And the first one, it was a reality check, but she had recovered like within the next couple of hours. She was still talking. She was able to walk. She was able to do everything as normal. She was complaining of some pains, but it seemed as if she was going to be unscathed. And then 3 days later, she had her second anoxic brain injury. And that injury, both of those events together, caused significant damage to her basal ganglia. So one day you have your child who can run, jump, play, do all these amazing things. And the next day there's nothing. She's just kind of laying there like Sleeping Beauty. Won't open her eyes, won't do anything. The doctors were very bleak about the prognosis and what was going to happen going forward, that she would be more or less like in a vegetative state, that she wouldn't be able to communicate. If she smiled, it would be because of a basic instinct, nothing that she could control. It was hard. It was hard to process all the things that you wanted to happen, the way that you saw your child's life, all being like snatched from you, just kind of being forced to continue. Because I think a lot of times when you have things like that, you just want everything to kind of stop. You want life to stop, everything to kind of slow down. And unfortunately, it doesn't happen that way. Life isn't able just to stop. You have to continue to keep going. So there are milestones and things in life that you are expecting to happen that are not going to happen. And you have to be able to process that. And so I had to do that by checking out. I couldn't be, I was in it, but I had so much faith and so much determination that God was going to just turn things around, and I had to believe that. If I didn't believe that, I don't think I would have been able to get through that time, not just dealing with her, but I had other children as well. So it was just a lot for my family to process. And sometimes I just, in life, you just, the trauma can be so thick, so big that you just have to mentally check out of all the things that are going on, and you're just going through the motions. You're just functioning. You just every day waking up, putting on your cape, being everything for everybody else, and you can't really allow yourself to feel everything, because if you do, sorry, you just be broken. So even now, like I said, that was 6 years ago. I have never really processed.
That's okay.
That's what I'm saying.
Mm. Thank you for sharing, Chanelle. I'm so sorry about your daughter. I know that that's a very painful experience to discuss, and you've been dealing with unimaginable pain and trauma and loss recently, and I just thank you for sharing, and I just pray for your healing and for you to be complete and whole again. And I love you, and I just wish I could hug you right now, and I can't, but I do love you, and thank you for sharing.
I love you a lot.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Lindsey?
I would have to say I was around 2016. I was in a relationship that I was trying to get out of. I was in a relationship for about 3 or 4 years, and I just felt like I lost myself. At that time, before that, I had lost a lot of weight. I slowly started gaining it back. I became really depressed in that relationship. I felt like my identity was attached to him. Mm-hmm. I had no clue what life was going to look like if he wasn't in it. Like, I didn't know, like that was me. Like, he had to be here with me. So there was some codependency there, things like that. And so I didn't know who I was. I didn't do any of the things that I used to do. Wasn't going out, didn't want to talk to anybody. At that time, I had gotten off of social media, which was actually a positive thing. That was actually a healthy thing I did for myself. And I just completely had to, once I got out of the relationship, I transitioned to Huntsville, and I just spent a great deal of time of trying to relearn who I was. Who am I? Who is Lindsey? Self-esteem was a huge component. Working on my self-esteem and knowing who I am and walking in my truth and being okay with some of my shortcomings and my downfalls, that took a lot of time to rebuild because it was lost. I mean, the relationship was, I'm not going to say abusive, but once again, my needs were not being met because in the beginning, I did not set expectations. And I realized I didn't do that because I didn't know what I needed. Mm-hmm. That relationship taught me, okay, so this is what I need. This is what I don't need. You know, I had no clue walking into it exactly what I needed in a significant other. And so it was really hard to communicate those needs. But once I started to do it and I realized that this person had no interest in meeting those needs, but at that time I was so far in that my identity was him, it made it very, very difficult.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Thank you for sharing as well. It's difficult when you have to learn how to navigate your new normal. Mm-hmm. Things will never be the same as they used to be with any of us on any given day. And I hear people every day saying that they wish things would go back to normal. This is the new normal now. And I think just coming to terms with that and accepting that is a whole feat within itself. You know, that's not even learning how to navigate this new terrain. That's just accepting that this is my new normal, that things will never be the way that they were. So finding hope in the fact that God is able to heal and restore what the locusts have eaten, right? Is what keeps me going personally, because if I didn't have that hope that things will be better than they were before, I would not be here today. Because some of the things that I struggle with, and I talked about this in the book was suicidal ideations. That clinical depression is no joke. Situational depression, just feeling like things will not get better, is something that strips you of your ability to enjoy your life and just live. It's hard. Sometimes we just survive because that's our instinct and we know how to keep going in spite of. But what I pray for all of us on this panel and those who are watching is that our quality of life be all that God has for us. And I said this before, we may not understand the why things happen. We may never understand the why, but I just want us to have peace in knowing that things will be better and that God is able to heal. Well, ladies, I just want to thank you all for being here, for participating today in this discussion. And I thank you all for watching. I thank you for being authentic and transparent, Chanelle and Lindsey. I thank you for being here today and for all that you've shared. I am just flabbergasted. My heart just goes out to both of you ladies. Everybody remember to check out yearofyoushima.net where you will find the book collection. This is one of the examples of the merch, okay? And make sure you get your Black Girls Healing tote bag, hoodies, graphic tees, mugs, because that's exactly what we're doing every day. We're all just striving to heal. Today we discussed chapter 8. So my clothing collection for chapter 8 is available and ready for you to purchase. Every single piece was inspired by a story from my book, Picking Up the Pieces to 100 Broken Promises. Check it out. I'm sure you'll find something there for everyone. Also, remember to check out the products and services from our panelists today. The links are below. Have a great day. And until next time, be bold, make a statement, and be empowered. Thank you.